Canto 22. Rávan's threat. Then anger swelled in Rav a letter 1E47's breast, who fiercely thus the dame addressed, "'Tis ever thus. In vain we sue to woman, and her favor woo. A lover's humble words impel her wayward spirit to rebel. The love of thee that fills my soul still keeps my anger in control, as charioteers with bit and rein the swerving of the steed restrain. The love that rules me bids me spare thy forfeit life, O thou most fair. For this, O Sítá, have I borne the keen reproach, the bitter scorn, and the fond love thou boastest yet for that poor wandering anchoret, else had the words which thou hast said brought death upon thy guilty head. 2 months, fair dame, I grant thee still to bend thee to thy lover's will. If when that respite time is fled thou still refuse to share my bed, my cook shall mince thy limbs with steel and serve thee for my morning meal." 834. The minstrel daughters of the skies looked on her woe with pitying eyes, and sun-bright children of the gods. 835 consoled the queen with smiles and nods. She saw, and with her heart at ease, addressed the fiend in words like these: "Hast thou no friend to love thee, none in all this isle to bid thee shun the ruin which thy crime will bring on thee and thine, O impious king? Who in all worlds save thee could woo me, Rama's consort pure and true, as though he tempted with his love-queen sat, 836 on her throne above. How canst thou hope, vile wretch, to fly the vengeance that e'en now is nigh, when thou hast dared, untouched by shame, to press thy suit on Rama's dame? Where woods are thick and grass is high a lion, and a hare may lie, my Rama is the lion. Thou art the poor hare beneath the bough. Thou railest at the Lord of men, but wilt not stand within his ken. What? Is that eye unstricken yet, whose impious glance on me was set? Still moves that tongue that would not spare the wife of Dasaratha's heir." Then, hissing like a furious snake, the fiend again to Sítá spake, "Deaf to all prayers and threats art thou, devoted to thy senseless vow. No longer respite will I give, and thou this day shalt cease to live, for I, as sunlight kills the morn, will slay thee for thy scathe and scorn." The Raksha's guard was summoned. All the monstrous crew obeyed the call, and hastened to the king to take the orders which he fiercely spake. "See that ye guard her well, and tame, like some wild thing, the stubborn dame, until her haughty soul be bent by mingled threat and blandishment." 837. The monsters heard, away he strode, and passed within his queen's abode. Canto 23. The demon's threats. Then round the helpless Sítá drew with fiery eyes the hideous crew, and thus assailed her, all and each with insult, taunt, and threatening speech. "What? Can it be thou prizest not this happy chance, this glorious lot, to be the chosen wife of one so strong and great, Pulistia's son? Pulistia, thus have sages told, is mid the lords of life, 838 enrolled. Lord Brahma's mind-born son was he, fourth of that glorious company. Visravas from Pulistia sprang, through all the worlds his glory rang. And of Visravas, large-eyed dame, our king the mighty Rav, a letter 1E47 came. His happy consort thou mayst be, scorn not the words we say to thee. One awful demon, fiery-eyed, stood by the Mathil queen and cried, Come and be his if thou art wise, who smote the sovereign of the skies, and made the 30 gods and 839, Orcum in furious battle flee. Thy lover turns away, with scorn from wives whom grace and youth adorn. Thou art his chosen consort, thou shalt be his pride and darling now." Another, Vikata by name, in words like these addressed the dame. The king whose blows in fury dealt, the Nagas 840 and Gandharvas 841, felt, in battle's fiercest brunt subdued, has stood by thee and humbly wooed. And wilt thou in thy folly miss the glory of a love like this? Scared by his eye the sun grows chill, the wanderer wind is hushed and still. The rains at his command descend, and trees with new-blown blossoms bend. His word the hosts of demons fear, and wilt thou, dame, refuse to hear? Be counselled, with his will comply, or lady, thou shalt surely die. Canto 24. Sítá's reply. Still with reproaches rough and rude those fiends the gentle queen pursued. What? Can so fair a life displease, to dwell with him in joyous ease? Dwell in his bowers a happy queen in silk and gold and jewels, sheen. Still must thy woman fancy cling to Rama, and reject our king. Die in thy folly, or forget that wretched wandering anchoret. Come, Sítá, in luxurious bowers, spend with our Lord thy happy hours, the mighty Lord who makes his own the treasures of the world's o'erthrown. Then, as a tear bedewed her eye, the hapless lady made reply. I loathe, with heart and soul detest the shameful life your words suggest. Eat, if you will, this mortal frame, my soul rejects the sin and shame. A homeless wanderer though he be, in him my Lord my life I see, and till my earthly days be done, will cling to great Ikshvaku's son. Then with fierce eyes on Sítá set they cried again with taunt and threat, each licking with her fiery tongue the lip that to her bosom hung, and menacing the lady's life with axe or spear or murderous knife. Hear, Sítá, and our words obey, or perish by our hands today. Thy love for Raghu's son forsake, and Rav, a letter 1E47 for thy husband take, or we will rend thy limbs apart and banquet on thy quivering heart. Now from her body strike the head, and tell the king the dame is dead. Then by our Lord's commandment, she a banquet for our band shall be. Come, let the wine be quickly brought, that frees each heart from saddening thought. Then to the western gate repair, and we will dance and revel there. Canto 25. Sítá's Lament. On the bare earth the lady sank, and trembling from their presence shrank like a strayed fawn, when night is dark, and hungry wolves around her bark. Then to a shady tree she crept, and thought upon her Lord and wept. By fear and bitter woe oppressed, she bathed the beauties of her breast with her hot tears' incessant flow, and found no respite from her woe. As shakes a plantain in the breeze she shook, and fell on trembling knees, while at each demon's furious look her cheek its native hue forsook. She lay and wept and made her moan in sorrow's saddest undertone, and wild with grief, with fear appalled, on Rama and his brother called. O dear Kausalya, 842, hear me cry. Sweet Queen Sumitra, 843, list my sigh. True is the saw the wise declare, death comes not to relieve despair. 'Tis vain for dame or man to pray, death will not hear before his day, since I, from Rama's sight debarred, and tortured by my cruel guard, still live in hopeless woe to grieve and loathe the life I may not leave. Here, like a poor deserted thing, my limbs upon the ground I fling, and, like a bark beneath the blast, shall sink oppressed with woes at last. Ah, blessed are they, supremely blessed, whose eyes upon my Lord may rest, who mark his lion port, and hear his gentle speech that charms the ear. Alas, what antenatal crime, what trespass of forgotten time weighs on my soul, and bids me bow beneath this load of misery now. Canto 26. Sítá's Lament. I, Rama's wife, on that sad day, by Rav a letter 1E47's arm was borne away, seized, while I sat and feared no ill, by him who wears each form at will. A helpless captive, left forlorn to demons, threats and taunts and scorn, here for my Lord I weep and sigh, and worn with woe would gladly die. For what is life to me afar from Rama of the mighty car? The robber in his fruitless sin would hope his captive's love to win. My meaner foot shall never touch the demon, whom I loathe so much. The senseless fool. He knows me not, nor the proud soul his love would blot. Yea, limb from limb will I be rent, but never to his prayer consent, be burnt and perish in the fire, but never meet his base desire. My Lord was grateful, true, and wise, and looked on woe with pitying eyes. But now, recoiling from the strife, he pities not his captive wife. Alone in Janisthan, he slew the thousands of the Rakshas crew. His arm was strong, his heart was brave, why comes he not to free and save? Why blame my Lord in vain surmise? He knows not where his lady lies. Oh, if he knew, o'er land and sea his feet were swift to set me free. This Lanka, girdled by the deep woodfall consumed, a shapeless heap, and from each ruined home would rise a Raksha's widow's groans and cries. Canto 27. Trigeta's Dream. Their threats unfeared, their counsels spurned, the demons' breasts with fury burned. Some sought the giant king, to bear the tale of Sítá's fixed despair. With threats and taunts, renewed the rest around the weeping lady pressed. But Trij, a letter 1E60 of softer mold, a Raksha's matron wise and old, with pity for the captive moved, in words like these the fiends reproved. Mimi, she cried, eat me, but spare the spouse of Dasaratha's heir. Last night I dreamt a dream, and still the fear and awe my bosom chill, for in that dream I saw fortune our race by Rama's hand o'erthrown. I saw a chariot high in air, of ivory exceeding fair. 100 steeds that chariot drew as swiftly through the clouds it flew, and, clothed in white, with wreaths that shone, the sons of Raghu rode thereon. I looked and saw this lady here, clad in the purest white, appear high on the snow-white hill whose feet the angry waves of ocean beat. And she and Rama met at last like light and sun when night is past. Again I saw them side by side. On Rav, a letter 147 car they seemed to ride, and with the princely Shm, a letter 147 flee to northern realms beyond the sea. Then Rav, a letter 147, shaved and shorn, besmeared with oil from head to foot, appeared. He quaffed, he raved, his robes were red, fierce was his eye and bare his head. I saw him from his chariot thrust, I saw him rolling in the dust. A woman came and dragged away the stricken giant where he lay, and on a car which asses drew the monarch of our race she threw. He rose erect, he danced and laughed, with thirsty lips the oil he quaffed, then with wild eyes and streaming mouth sped on the chariot to the south. 844, then, dropping oil from every limb, his sons the princes followed him, and Kumbhak letter 147 845, shaved and shorn, was southward on a camel borne. Then royal Lanka reeled, and fell with gate and tower and citadel. This ancient city, far renowned, all life within her walls was drowned, and the wild waves of ocean rolled o'er Lanka and her streets of gold. Warned by these signs, I bid you fly, or by the hand of Rama die, whose vengeance will not spare the life of one who vexed his faithful wife. Your bitter taunts and threats forego, comfort the lady in her woe, and humbly pray her to forgive, for so you may be spared and live. Canto 30. Hanuman's deliberation. The Vanner watched concealed, each word of Sítá and the fiends he heard, and in a maze of anxious thought his quick-conceiving bosom wrought. At length my watchful eyes have seen, pursued so long, the Maithil queen, sought by our Vanner hosts in vain from east to west, from main to main. A cautious spy have I explored the palace of the Raksha's lord, and thoroughly learned, concealed from sight, the giant monarch's power and might. And now my task must be to cheer the royal dame who sorrows here. For if I go and soothe her not, a captive in this distant spot she, when she finds no comfort nigh, will sink beneath her woes and die. How shall my tale, if unconsoled I leave her, be to Rama told? How shall I answer Raghu's son? No message from my darling, none? The husband's wrath, to fury fanned, will scorch me lifeless where I stand. Or if I urge my lord the king to Lanka's isle his hosts to bring, in vain will be his zeal, in vain the toil, the danger, and the pain. Yea, this occasion must I seize that from her guard the lady frees. 846, to win her ear with soft address and whisper hope in dire distress. Shall I, a puny Vanner, choose the Sanskrit men delight to use? If, as a man of Brahmin kind, I speak the tongue by rules refined, the lady, yielding to her fears, will think, 'tis Rav, a letter 147's voice she hears. I must assume my only plan, the language of a common, 847 man. Yet if the lady sees me nigh, in terror she will start and cry, and all the demon band, alarmed, will come with various weapons armed, with their wild shouts the grove will fill, and strive to take me or to kill. And at my death or capture, dies the hope of Rama's enterprise. For none can leap, save only me, 100 leagues across the sea. It is a sin in me, I own, to talk with Janak's child alone. Yet greater is the sin if I be silent, and the lady die. First I will utter Rama's name, and laud the hero's gifts and fame. Perchance the name she holds so dear will soothe the faithful lady's fear. Canto 31. Hanuman's speech. Then in sweet accents low and mild the Vanner spoke to Janak's child. A noble king, by sin unstained, the mighty Dasaratha reigned. Lord of the warrior's car and steed, the pride of old Ikshvaku's seed. A faithful friend, a blameless king, protector of each living thing. A glorious monarch, strong to save, blessed with the bliss he freely gave. His son, the best of all who know the science of the bended bow, was moon-bright Rama, brave and strong, who loved the right and loathed the wrong, who ne'er from kingly duty swerved, loved by the lands his might preserved. His feet the path of law pursued, his arm rebellious foes subdued. His sire's command the prince obeyed, and banished, sought the forest shade, where with his wife and brother he wandered a saintly devotee. There, as he roamed the wilds, he slew the bravest of the Rakshas' crew. The giant king the prince beguiled, and stole his consort, Janak's child. Then Rama roamed the country round, and a firm friend, Sugriva, found, lord of the Vanar race, expelled from his own realm which Bali held. He conquered Bali and restored the kingdom to the rightful lord. Then by Sugriva's high decree the Vanar legions searched for thee. Sampati's counsel bade me leap 100 leagues across the deep. And now my happy eyes have seen at last the long-sought Maithil queen. Such was the form, the eye, the grace of her whom Rama bade me trace. He ceased, her flowing locks she drew to shield her from a stranger's view, then, trembling in her wild surprise, raised to the tree her anxious eyes. Canto 32. Sita's doubt. Her eyes the Maithil lady raised, and on the monkey speaker gazed. She looked, and trembling at the sight wept bitter tears in wild affright. She shrank a while with fear distraught, then, nerved again, the lady thought, "Is this a dream mine eyes have seen this creature, by our laws unclean? Oh, may the gods keep Rama still, and LKSHM a letter 1E47, and my sire from ill. It is no dream, I have not slept, but, trouble-worn, have watched and wept afar from that dear lord of mine for whom in ceaseless woe I pine. No art may soothe my wild distress, or lull me to forgetfulness. I see but him, my lips can frame no syllable but Rama's name. Each sight I see, each sound I hear brings Rama to mine eye or ear. The wish was in my heart, and hence the sweet illusion mocked my sense. 'Twas but a phantom of the mind, and yet the voice was soft and kind. Be glory to the eternal sire. 848. Be glory to the Lord of fire, the mighty teacher in the skies. 849. And Indra with his 1,000 eyes, and may they grant the truth to be an as the words that startled me. Canto 33. The Colloquy. Down from the tree, Hanuman came and humbly stood before the dame. Then joining reverent palm to palm addressed her thus with words of balm. Why should the tears of sorrow rise, sweet lady, to those lovely eyes, as when the wind-swept river floods 2 half-expanded lotus buds? Who art thou, O most fair of face? Of a Sur, 850, or celestial race. Did Naga mother give thee birth? For sure thou art no child of earth. Do Rudras, 851, claim that heavenly form? Or the swift gods, 852, who ride the storm? Or art thou ROHI letter 1E47 I acute, 853, the blessed, that star more lovely than the rest? Reft from the moon thou lovest well, and doomed a while on earth to dwell. Or canst thou, fairest wonder, be the starry queen Arundhati, 854, fled in thy wrath or jealous pride from her dear lord V, a s acute, ISH letter 1E60 H a s side? Who is the husband, father, son, or brother, O thou loveliest one, gone from this world in heaven to dwell, for whom those eyes with weeping swell? Yet by the tears those sweet eyes shed, yet by the earth that bears thy tread. 855 by calling on a monarch's name, no goddess but a royal dame. Art thou the queen, fair lady, say, whom RAV a letter 1E47 stole and bore away? Yea, by that agony of woe, that form unrivaled here below, that votive garb thou art, I ween, King Janak's child and Rama's queen. Hope at the name of Rama woke, and thus the gentle lady spoke. I am that Sítá wooed and won by Dasaratha's royal son, the noblest of Ikshvaku's line, and every earthly joy was mine. But Rama left his royal home in D, a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a KS tangled wilds to roam. Where with Sumitra's son and me, he lived a saintly devotee. The giant RAV, a letter 1E47, came with guile and bore me thence to Lanka's isle. Some respite yet the fiend allows, 2 months of life to Rama's spouse. 2 moons of hopeless woe remain, and then the captive will be slain. Canto 34. Hanuman's speech. Thus spoke the dame in mournful mood, and Hanuman his speech renewed. O lady, by thy lord's decree I come a messenger to thee. Thy lord is safe with steadfast friends, and greeting to his queen he sends, and LAKSHM a letter 1E47, ever faithful bows his reverent head to Rama's spouse. Through all her frame the rapture ran, as thus again the dame began. Now verily the truth I know of the wise saw of long ago. Once only in 100 years true joy to living man appears. He marked her rapture-beaming hue, and nearer to the lady drew. But at each onward step he took suspicious fear her spirit shook. Alas, alas, she cried in fear. False is the tale I joyed to hear. Tease Rav a letter 1E47, tease the fiend, who tries to mock me with a new disguise. If thou, to wring my woman's heart, haste change thy shape by magic art, and wouldst a helpless dame beguile, the wicked deed is doubly vile. But no, that fiend thou canst not be, such joy I had from seeing thee. But if my fancy does not err, and thou art Rama's messenger, the glories of my lord repeat, for to these ears such words are sweet. The vanner knew the lady's thought, 856, and gave the answer fondly sought. Bright as the sun that lights the sky, dear as the moon to every eye. He scatters blessings o'er the land like bounties from V, a I execute R of V, a letter 1E47S, 857 hand. Like VISH letter 1E47 you strong and unsubdued, unmatched in might and fortitude. Wise, truthful as the lord of speech, with gentle words he welcomes each. Of noblest mold and form is he, like love's incarnate deity. He quells the fury of the foe, and strikes when justice prompts the blow. Safe in the shadow of his arm, the world is kept from scathe and harm. Now soon shall Rav a letter 1E47 rue his theft, and fall, of realm and life bereft. For Rama's wrathful hand shall wing his shafts against the giant king. The day, O Mathil queen, is near when he and LAKSHM a letter 1E47 will be here, and by their side Sugriva lead his countless hosts of Vanner breed. Sugriva's servant, I by name Hanuman, by his order came. With desperate leap I crossed the sea to Lanka's isle in search of thee, no traitor, gentle dame, am I upon my word and faith rely. Canto 35. Hanuman's speech. With joyous heart she heard him tell of the great Lord she loved so well, and in sweet accents, soft and low, spoke, half forgetful of her woe. How didst thou stand by Rama's side? How came my lord and thou allied? How met the people of the wood with men on terms of brotherhood? Declare each grace and regal sign that decks the lords of Raghu's line. Each circumstance and look relate, tell Rama's form and speech and gait. Thy fear and doubt, he cried, dispelled here, lady, what mine eyes beheld. Here the imperial signs that grace the glory of Ikshvaku's race. With moon-bright face and lotus eyes, most beautiful and good and wise, with sun-like glory round his head. Long-suffering as the earth we tread, he from all foes his realm defends. Yea, o'er the world his care extends. He follows right in all his ways, and ne'er from royal duty strays. He knows the lore that strengthens kings, his heart to truth and honor clings. Each grace and gift of form and mind adorns that prince of humankind, and virtues like his own endue his brother ever firm and true. O'er all the land they roamed distraught, and they with vain endeavor sought, until at length their wandering feet trod wearily our wild retreat. Our banished King Sugriva spied the princes from the mountain side. By his command I sought the pair, and led them to our monarch there. Thus Rama and Sugriva met, and joined the bonds that knit them yet, when each besought the other's aid, and friendship and alliance made. An arrow launched from Rama's bow laid Bali dead, Sugriva's foe. Then by commandment of our Lord, the Vanner hosts each land explored. We reached the coast, I crossed the sea and found my way at length to thee. 858. Canto 36. Rama's ring. Receive, he cried, this precious ring, 859, sure token from thy lord the king, the golden ring he wont to wear, see, Rama's name engraven there. Then, as she took the ring he showed, the tears that spring of rapture flowed. She seemed to touch the hand that sent the dearly valued ornament, and with her heart again at ease, replied in gentle words like these. O thou, whose soul no fears deter, wise, brave, and faithful messenger. And hast thou dared, o'er wave and foam, to seek me in the giant's home? In thee, true messenger, I find the noblest of thy woodland kind, who couldst, unmoved by terror, brook on Rav a letter 147, king of fiends, to look. Now may we commune here as friends, for he whom royal Rama sends must needs be one in danger tried, a valiant, wise, and faithful guide. Say, is it well with Rama still? Lives Elike, SHM, a letter 147, yet untouched by ill. Then why should Rama's hand be slow to free his consort from her woe? Why spare to burn, in search of me, the land encircled by the sea? Can Burrit send no army out with banners, cars, and battle shout? Cannot thy king, Sugriva, lend his legions to assist his friend? His hands upon his head he laid, and thus again his answer made. Not yet has Rama learnt where lies his lady of the lotus eyes, or he like Indra from the sky to Sachi's 860 aid to thee would fly. Soon will he hear the tale, and then, roused to revenge, the lord of men will to the giant's island lead fierce myriads of the woodland breed, bridging his conquering way, and make the town a ruin for thy sake. Believe my words, sweet dame, I swear by roots and fruit, my woodland fair, by Meru's peak and Vindhva's chain, and Mandar of the milky mane, soon shalt thou see thy lord, though now he waits upon PR a execute R of V a letter 147 S 861, brow come glorious as the breaking morn, like Indra on Aravat, 862 born. For thee he looks with longing eyes, the wood his scanty food supplies. For thee his brow is pale and worn, for thee are meat and wine forsworn. Thine image in his heart he keeps, for thee by night he wakes and weeps. Or if perchance his eyes he close and win brief respite from his woes, and then the name of Sítá slips in anguish from his murmuring lips. If lovely flowers or fruit he sees, which women love, upon the trees to thee his fancy flies. And Sítá, O my love, he cries. Canto 37. Sítá's speech. Thou bringest me, she cried again, a mingled draught of bliss and pain, bliss that he wears me in his heart, pain that he wakes and weeps apart. Oh, see how fate is king of all, now lifts us high, now bids us fall, and leads a captive bound with cord the meanest slave, the proudest lord, thus even now fate's stern decree has struck with grief my lord and me. Say, how shall Rama reach the shore of sorrow's waves that rise and roar, a shipwrecked sailor, well nigh drowned in the wild sea that foams around? When will he smite the demon down, lay low in dust the giant's town, and glorious from his foes defeat, his wife, his long-lost Sítá meet? Go, bid him speed to smite his foes before the year shall reach its close. 10 months are fled, but 2 remain, then Rav, a letter 147's captive must be slain. Oft has Vibhish, a letter 147, 863, just and wise, besought him to restore his prize. But deaf is Rav, a letter 147's senseless ear, his brother's reed he will not hear. Vibhish, a letter 147's daughter, 864, loves me well, from her I learnt the tale I tell. Avindva, 865, prudent, just, and old, the giant's fall has oft foretold, but fate impels him to despise his word on whom he most relies. In Rama's love I rest secure, for my fond heart is true and pure, and him, my noblest lord, I deem in valor, power, and might supreme. As from her eyes the waters ran, the Vanner chief again began. Yea, Rama, when he hears my tale, will with our hosts these walls assail. Or I myself, O queen, this day will bear thee from the fiend away, will lift thee up, and take thee hence to him thy refuge and defense, will take thee in my arms, and flee to Rama far beyond the sea, will place thee on PR a execute R of V a letter 147 hill, where Raghu's son is waiting still. How canst thou bear me hence? She cried. The way is long, the sea is wide. To bear my very weight would be a task too hard for one like thee. 866. Swift rose before her startled eyes the Vanner in his native size, like Mandar's hill or Meru's height, encircled with a blaze of light. Oh come, he cried, thy fears dispel, nor doubt that I will bear thee well. Come, in my strength and care confide, and sit in joy by Rama's side. Again she spake, I know thee now, brave, resolute, and strong art thou, in glory like the Lord of Fire, with storm-swift feet which not may tire, but yet with the eye may not fly. For, borne so swiftly through the sky, mine eyes would soon grow faint and dim. My dizzy brain would reel and swim, my yielding arms relax their hold, and I in terror uncontrolled should fall into the raging sea where hungry sharks would feed on me. Nor can I touch, of free accord, the limbs of any save my lord. If by the giant forced away in his enfolding arms I lay, not mine, O Vanner, was the blame. What could I do, a helpless dame? Go, to my lord my message bear, and bid him end my long despair. Canto 38. Sítá's Gem. Again the Vanner chief replied, with her wise answer satisfied. Well hast thou said, thou canst not brave the rushing wind, the roaring wave. Thy woman's heart would sink with fear, before the ocean shore were near. And for thy dread, lest limb of thine should for a while be touched by mine, the modest fear is worthy one whose cherished lord is Raghu's son. Yet when I sought to bear thee hence, I spoke the words of innocence, impelled to set the captive free by friendship for thy lord and thee. But if with me thou wilt not try the passage of the windy sky, give me a gem that I may show, some token which thy lord may know. Again the Maythil lady spoke, while tears and sobs her utterance broke. The surest of all signs is this, to tell the tale of vanished bliss. Thus in my name to Rama speak. Remember Chitr a Ku acute letter 1E60 a S peak, and the green margin of the rill 867, that flows beside that pleasant hill, where thou and I together strayed delighting in the tangled shade. There on the grass I sat with thee, and laid my head upon thy knee. There came a greedy crow, and pecked the meat I waited to protect, and, heedless of the clods, I threw about my head in circles flew, until by darling hunger pressed he boldly pecked me on the breast. I ran to thee in rage and grief, and prayed for vengeance on the thief. Then Rama, 868, from his slumber rose and smiled with pity at my woes. Upon my bleeding breast he saw the scratches made by beak and claw. He laid an arrow on his bow, and launched it at the shameless crow. That shaft, with magic power endued, the bird, where'er he flew, pursued, till back to Raghu's son he fled and bent at Rama's feet his head. 869. Couldst thou for me with anger stirred launch that dire shaft upon a bird, and yet canst pardon him who stole the darling of thy heart and soul? Rise up, O bravest of the brave, and come in all thy might to save. Come with the thunders of thy bow, and smite to earth the Rakshas foe. She ceased, and from her glorious hair she took a gem that sparkled their a token, which her husband's eyes with eager love would recognize. His head the Vanner envoy bent, in low obeisance reverent, and on his finger, bound the gem she loosened from her diadem. Canto 41. The Ruin of the Grove. Dismissed with every honor, do the Vanner from the spot withdrew. Then joyous thought the wind god's son, the mighty task is well nigh done. The 3 expedients I must leave, the 4th alone can I achieve. 870, these dwellers in the giants' isle no arts of mine can reconcile. I cannot bribe, I cannot sow dissension mid the Rakshas foe. Art's gifts address these fiends despise, but force shall yet their king chastise. Perchance he may relent, when all the bravest of his chieftains fall. This lovely grove will I destroy, the cruel Rav, a letter 1E47's pride and joy. The garden where he takes his ease mid climbing plants and flowery trees that lift their proud tops to the skies, dear to the tyrant as his eyes. Then will he rouse in wrath, and lead his legions with the car and steed and elephants in long array, and seek me thirsty for the fray. The Rakshas' legions will I meet, and all his bravest host defeat, then, glorious from the bloody plain turn to my lord the king again. Then every lovely tree that bore fair blossoms, from the soil he tore, till each green bough that lent its shade to singing birds on earth was laid. The wilderness he left a waste, the fountains shattered and defaced, o'erthrew and leveled with the ground each shady seat and pleasure mound. Each arbor clad with climbing bloom, each grotto, cell and picture room, each lawn by beast and bird enjoyed, each walk and terrace was destroyed. And all the place that was so fair was left a ruin wild and bare, as if the fury of the blast or raging fire had o'er it passed. Canto 42. The giants roused. The cries of startled birds, the sound of tall trees crashing to the ground, struck with amaze each giant's ear and filled the isle with sudden fear. Then, wakened by the crash and cries, the fierce Shephenes unclosed their eyes and saw the Vanner where he stood amid the devastated wood. The more to scare them with the view to size immense the Vanner grew, and straight the Rakshas' warders cried Janak's daughter terrified, "Whose envoy whence, and who is he, why has he come to talk with thee? Speak, lady of the lovely eyes, and let not fear thy joy disguise." Then thus replied the Maithil dame of noble soul and perfect frame. "Can I discern, with scanty skill, these fiends who change their forms at will? 'Tis yours to say, your kin you meet, a serpent knows a serpent's feet. I weet not who he is, the sight has filled my spirit with affright. Some pressed round Sítá in a ring, some bore the story to their king. A mighty creature of our race in monkey form has reached the place. He came within the grove," they cried. "He stood and talked by Sitá's side. He comes from Indra's court to her, or is Kuvera's messenger. Or Rama sent the spy to seek his consort and her wrongs to wreak. His crushing arm, his trampling feet have marred and spoiled that dear retreat, and all the pleasant place which thou so lovest is a ruin now. The tree where Sítá sat alone is spared where all are overthrown. Perchance he saved the dame from harm, perchance the toil had numbed his arm." Then flashed the giant's eye with fire like that which lights the funeral pyre. He bade his bravest kinkars, 871 speed, and to his feet the spoiler led. Forth from the palace, at his hest, twice 40,000 warriors pressed, burning for battle, strong and fierce. With clubs to crush and swords to pierce, they saw Hanuman near a porch, and, thick as moths around a torch, rushed on the foe with wild attacks of mace and club and battle-axe. As round him pressed the Rakshas crowd, the wondrous monkey roared aloud, that birds fell headlong from the sky. Then spake he with a mighty cry, "Long life to Dasaratha's heir, and Lakshman, a letter 1E47, ever glorious pair. Long life to him who rules our race, preserved by noblest Rama's grace. I am the slave of Cousel's king, 872, whose wondrous deeds the minstrels sing. Hanuman I, the wind god's seed, beneath this arm the foemen bleed. I fear not, unapproached in might, 1,000 Rav, a letter 1E47s ranged for fight, although in furious hands they rear the hill and tree for sword and spear. I will, before the giants' eyes, their city and their king chastise, and, having communed with the dame, depart in triumph as I came." At that terrific roar and yell the heart of every giant fell. But still their king's command they feared, and pressed around with arms upreared. Beside the porch a club was laid. The Vanner caught it up, and swayed the weapon round his head, and slew the foremost of the Rakshas' crew. Thus Indra vanquished, 1,000 died, the Daityas who the gods defied. Then on the porch Hanuman sprang, and loud his shout of triumph rang. The giants looked upon the dead, and turning to their monarch fled. And Rav, a letter 1E47 with his spirit wrought to frenzy by the tale they brought, urged to the fight Prahasta's son, of all his chiefs the mightiest one. Canto 43. The ruin of the temple. The wind god's son a temple, 873 scaled which, by his fury unassailed, high as the hill of Meru, stood amid the ruins of the wood, and in his fury thundered out again his haughty battle shout. I am the slave of Cousel's king whose wondrous deeds the minstrels sing. Forth hurried, by that shout alarmed, the warders of the temple armed with every weapon haste supplied, and closed him in on every side, with bands that strove to pierce and strike with shaft and axe and club and pike. Then from its base the Vanner tore a pillar with the weight it bore. Against the wall the mass he dashed, and forth the flames in answer flashed, that wildly ran o'er roofs and wall in hungry rage consuming all. He whirled the pillar round his head, and struck 100 giants dead. Then high upheld on air he rose, and called in thunder to his foes, 1,000 Vanner chiefs like me roam at there, will o'er land and sea terrific, might we all possess, our stormy speed is limitless. And all, unconquered in the fray, our King Sugriva's word obey. Backed by his bravest myriads, he our warrior lord will cross the sea. Then Lanka's lofty towers, and all your hosts and Rav, a letter 1E47 self shall fall. None shall be left unslaughtered, none who braves the wrath of Raghu's son. Canto 44. Jambumali's death. Then Jambumali, pride and boast for valor of the Rakshas host, Prahasta's son, supremely brave, obeyed the hest that Rav a letter 1E47 gave fierce warrior with terrific teeth, with sagwine robes and brilliant wreath. A bow like Indra's own 874, and store of glittering shafts the chieftain bore. And ever as the string he tried the weapon with a roar replied, loud as the crashing thunder sent by him who rules the firmament. Soon as the foeman came in view borne on a car which asses drew, the Vanner chieftain mighty-voiced shouted in triumph and rejoiced. Prahasta's son his bowstring drew, and swift the winged arrows flew. One in the face the Vanner smote, another quivered in his throat. 10 from the deadly weapon sent his brawny arms and shoulders rent. Then as he felt each galling shot the Vanner's rage waxed fiercely hot. He looked and saw a mass of stone that lay before his feet o'erthrown. The mighty block he raised and threw, and crashing through the air it flew. But Jambumali shunned the blow, and rained fresh arrows from his bow. The Vanner's limbs were red with gore, a sal tree from the earth he tore, and, ere he hurled it undismayed, above his head the missile swayed. But shafts from Jambumali's bow cut through it, ere his hand could throw. And thigh and arm and chest, and side with streams of rushing blood were dyed. Still unsubdued, though wounded, off the shattered trunk he raised aloft, and down with well-directed aim on Jambumali's chest it came. There crushed upon the trampled grass he lay an undistinguished mass. The foeman's eye no more could see his head or chest or arm or knee. And bow and car and steeds, 875, and store of glittering shafts were seen no more. When Jambumali's death he heard, King Rav, a letter 1E47's heart with rage was stirred, and forth his general's sons he sent, for power and might preeminent. Canto 45. The 7 defeated. Forth went the 7 in brave attire, in glory brilliant as the fire, impetuous chiefs with massive bows, the quellers of a host of foes, trained from their youth in martial lore, and masters of the arms they bore, each emulous and fiercely bold, and banners wrought with glittering gold waved o'er their chariots, drawn at speed by coursers of the noblest breed. On through the ruins of the grove at Hanuman they fiercely drove, and from the ponderous bows they strained a shower of deadly arrows rained. Then scarce was seen the Vanner's form enveloped in the arrowy storm. So stands half-veiled the mountains, king when rainy clouds about him cling. By nimble turn, by rapid bound he shunned the shafts that rained around, eluding, as in air he rose, the rushing chariots of his foes. The mighty Vanner undismayed amid his archer foeman played, as plays the frolic wind on high mid-bow armed, 876, clouds that fill the sky. He raised a mighty roar and yell that fear on all the army fell. And then, his warrior soul aglow with fury, rushed upon the foe, some with his open hand he beat to death and trampled with his feet, some with fierce nails he rent and slew, and others with his fists o'erthrew, some with his legs, as on he rushed, some with his bulky chest he crushed, while some struck senseless by his roar dropped on the ground and breathed no more. The remnant, seized with sudden dread, turned from the grove and wildly fled. The trampled earth was thickly strown with steed and car and flag o'erthrown, and the red blood in rivers flowed from slaughtered fiends o'er path and road. Canto 46. The captains, mad with the rage of injured pride, King Rav, a letter 1E47 summoned to his side, the valiant 5 who led his host, supreme in war and honored most. Go forth, he cried, with car and steed, and to my feet this monkey laid, but watch each chance of time and place to seize this thing of sylvan race. For from his wondrous exploits he no monkey of the woods can be, but some new kind of creature meant to work us woe, by Indra sent. Gandharvas, Nagas, and the best of Yakshas have our might confessed. Have we not challenged and subdued the whole celestial multitude? Yet will you not, if you are wise, a chief of monkey race despise. For I myself have Bali known, and King Sugriva's power I own. But none of all their woodland throng was half so terrible and strong. Obedient to the words, he spake, they hastened forth the foe to take. Swift were the cars whereon they rode, and bright their weapons flashed and glowed. They saw, they charged in wild career with sword and mace, and axe and spear. From Durdhar's bow 5 arrows sped and quivered in the Vanner's head. He rose and roared. The fearful sound made all the region echo round. Then from above his weight, he threw on Durdhar's car that near him drew. The weight that came with lightning speed crushed pole and axle, car and steed. It shattered Durdhar's head and neck, and left him lifeless mid the wreck. Upaksha saw the warrior die, and Virupaksha heard his cry, and mad for vengeance for the slain, they charged their vanner foe again. He rose in air, they onward pressed and fiercely smote him on the breast. In vain they struck his iron frame, with eagle swoop to earth he came, tore from the ground a tree that grew beside him, and the demons slew. Then Basakama raised his spear, and Praghas with a laugh drew near, and, maddened at the sight, the two against the undaunted vanner flew. As from his wounds the torrents flowed, like a red sun the vanner showed. He turned, a mountain peak to seize with all its beasts and snakes and trees. He hurled it on the pair, and they crushed, overwhelmed, beneath it lay. Canto 47. The death of Aksha. But Rav a letter 147, as his fury burned, his eyes on youthful Aksha, 877, turned, who rose impetuous at his glance and shouted for his bow and lance. He rode upon a glorious car that shot the light of gems afar. His pennon waved mid glittering gold, and bright the wheels with jewels rolled. By long and fierce devotion, one that car was splendid as the sun, with rows of various weapons stored, and thought-swift horses whirled their lord racing along the earth, or rose high through the clouds whene'er he chose. Then fierce and fearful war between the vanner and the fiend was seen. The gods and Asurs stood amazed, and on the wondrous combat gazed. A cry from earth rose long and shrill, the wind was hushed, the sun grew chill. The thunder bellowed from the sky, and troubled ocean roared reply. Thrice Aksha strained his dreadful bow, thrice smote his arrow on the foe, and with full streams of crimson bled 3 gashes in the vanner's head. Then rose Hanuman in the air, to shun the shafts no life could bear. But Aksha in his car pursued, and from on high the fight renewed with storm of arrows, thick as hail when angry clouds some hill assail. Impatient of that arrowy shower the vanner chief put forth his power, again above his chariot rose, and smote him with repeated blows. Terrific came each deadly stroke, breast, neck, and arm and back he broke, and Aksha fell to earth, and lay with all his lifeblood drained away. Canto 48. Hanuman captured. To Indrajít, 878, the bold and brave the giant king his mandate gave. O trained in warlike science, best in arms of all our mightiest, whose valor in the conflict shown to Asurs and to gods is known. The Kinkars whom I sent are slain, and Jambumali and his train, the lords who led our giant bands have fallen by the monkey's hands, with shattered cars the ground is spread, and Aksha lies amid the dead. Thou art my best and bravest, go unmatched in power and slay the foe. He heard the hest, he bent his head, athirst for battle forth he sped. 4 tigers fierce of tawny hue with fearful teeth, his chariot drew. Hanuman heard his strong bow clang, and swiftly from the earth he sprang. While weak and ineffective, fell the archer's shafts though pointed well. The Rakshas saw that naught might kill the wondrous foe who mocked his skill, and launched a magic shaft to throw a binding spell about his foe. Forth flew the shaft. The mystic charm stayed his swift feet and numbed his arm, through all his frame he felt the spell, and motionless to earth he fell. Nor would the reverent vanner loose the bonds that bound him as a noose. He knew that Brahma's self had charmed the weapon that his might disarmed. They saw him helpless on the ground, and all the giants pressed around, and bonds of hemp and bark were cast about his limbs to hold him fast. They drew the ropes round feet and wrists, they beat him with their hands and fists, and dragged him as they strained the cord with shouts of triumph to their lord. 879. Canto 49. Rávan. On the fierce King Hanuman turned his angry eyes that glowed and burned. He saw him decked with wealth untold of diamond and pearl and gold, and priceless was each wondrous gem that sparkled in his diadem. About his neck rich chains were twined, the best that fancy e'er designed, and a fair robe with pearls bestrung down from his mighty shoulders hung. 10 heads he reared, 880, as Mandar's hill lifts woody peaks which tigers fill. Bright were his eyes, and bright, beneath, the flashes of his awful teeth. His brawny arms of wondrous size were decked with rings and scented dyes. His hands like snakes, with 5 long heads, descending from their mountain beds. He sat upon a crystal throne inlaid with wealth of precious stone, whereon, of noblest work, was set a gold-embroidered coverlet. Behind the monarch stood the best of beauteous women gaily dressed, and each her giant master fanned, or waved a chowry in her hand. 4 noble courtiers, 881, wise and good in counsel, near the monarch stood, as the 4 oceans ever stand about the sea-encompassed land. Still, though his heart with rage was fired, the vanner marveled and admired. Oh, what a rare and wondrous sight! What beauty, majesty, and might! All regal pomp combines to grace this ruler of the Rakshas race. He, if he scorn not right and law, might guide the world with tempered awe, yea, Indra and the gods on high might on his saving power rely. Canto 50. Prahasta's questions. Then fierce the giant's fury blazed as on Hanuman's form he gazed, and shaken by each wild surmise he spake aloud with flashing eyes. Can this be Nandi, 882, standing here, the mighty one whom all revere? Who once on high Kailas's hill pronounced the curse that haunts me still? Or is the woodland creature one of Asur race, or Bali's, 883 son? The wretch with searching question try, learn who he is and whence, and why he marred the glory of the grove, and with my captains fiercely strove. Prahasta heard his lord's behest, and thus the vanner chief addressed, O monkey stranger, be consoled, fear not, and let thy heart be bold. If thou by Indra's mandate sent thy steps to Lanka's isle hast bent, with fearless words the cause explain, and freedom thou shalt soon regain. Or if thou comest as a spy dispatched by Vibhishan letter 1E47U in the sky, or sent by Yama, or the Lord of Riches, hast our town explored, proved by the prowess thou hast shown no monkey save in form alone, speak boldly all the truth, and be released from bonds, unharmed and free. But falsehood spoken to our king swift punishment of death will bring. He ceased, the vanner made reply, Not Indra's messenger am I, nor came I hither to fulfill Kuvera's hest or Vibhishan letter 1E47US will. I stand before the giants here a vanner e'en as I appear. I long to see the king, 'twas hard to win my way through gate and guard. And so to gain my wish I laid in ruin that delightful shade. No fiend, no god of heavenly kind with bond or chain these limbs may bind. The eternal sire himself of old vouchsafed the boon that makes me bold, from Brahma's magic shaft released, 884, I knew the captor's power had ceased, the fancied bonds I freely brooked, and thus upon the king have looked. My way to Lanka have I won, a messenger from Raghu's son. Canto 51. Hanuman's reply. My king Sugriva greets thee fair, and bids me thus his rede declare. Son of the god of wind, by name Hanuman, to this isle I came. To set the Maithil lady free I crossed the barrier of the sea. I roamed in search of her, and found her weeping in that lovely ground. Thou in the lore of duty trained, who hast by stern devotion gained this wondrous wealth and power and fame, shouldst fear to wrong another's dame. Hear thou my counsel, and be wise. No fiend, no dweller in the skies can bear the shafts by Lakshman, a letter 1E47 shot, or Rama when his wrath is hot. O giant king, repent the crime and soothe him while there yet is time. Now be the Maithil queen, restored uninjured to her sorrowing lord. Soon wilt thou rue thy dire mistake. She is no woman but a snake, whose very deadly bite will be the ruin of thy house and thee. Thy pride has led thy thoughts astray, that fancy not a hand may slay the monarch of the giants, screened from mortal blow of god and fiend. Sugriva still thy death may be. No yaksha, fiend, or god is he, and Rama from a woman springs, the mortal seed of mortal kings. Oh, think how Bali fell subdued, think on thy slaughtered multitude. Respect those brave and strong allies, consult thy safety, and be wise. I no helper need to overthrow, with car and steed, thy city Lanka half divine, the power but not the will is mine. For Raghu's son, before his friend the vanner monarch, swore to end with his own conquering arm the life of him who stole his darling wife. Turn and be wise, O Rav, a letter 1E47 turn, or thou wilt see thy Lanka burn, and with thy wives, friends, kith and kin be ruined for thy senseless sin. Canto 52. Vibhishan's speech. Then Rav a letter 147 spake with flashing eye, hence with the vanner, let him die. Vibhish a letter 147 heard the stern behest, and pondered in his troubled breast. Then, trained in arts that soothe and please, addressed the king in words like these. Revoke, my lord, thy fierce decree, and hear the words I speak to thee. Kings wise and noble ne'er condemn to death the envoys sent to them. Such deed the world's contempt would draw on him who breaks the ancient law. 885 Observe the mean where justice lies, and spare his life but still chastise. Then forth the tyrant's fury broke, and thus in angry words he spoke. O hero, when the wicked bleed, no sin or shame attends the deed. The vanner's blood must needs be spilt, the penalty of heinous guilt. Again Vibhish a letter 147 made reply. Nay, hear me, for he must not die. Hear the great law the wise declare, thy foeman's envoy thou shalt spare. 'Tis true he comes an open foe, 'tis true his hands have wrought us woe, but law allows thee, if thou wilt, a punishment to suit the guilt. The mark of shame, the scourge, the brand, the shaven head, the wounded hand. Yea, were the vanner envoy slain, where, king of giants, were the gain. On them alone, on them who sent the message, be the punishment. For spake he well or spake he ill, he spake obedient to their will, and if he perish, who can bear thy challenge to the royal pair? Who, cross the ocean, and incite thy death-doomed enemies to fight? Canto 53. The punishment. King Rav a letter 147, by his pleading moved, the counsel of the chief approved. Thy words are wise and true, to kill an envoy would beseem us ill. Yet must we for his crime invent some fitting mode of punishment. The tail, I fancy, is the part most cherished by a monkey's heart. Make ready, set his tail aflame, and let him leave us as he came, and thus disfigured and disgraced back to his king and people haste. The giants heard their monarch's speech, and, filled with burning fury, each brought strips of cotton cloth, and round the monkey's tail the bandage wound. As round his tail, the bands they drew his mighty form dilating, grew vast as the flame that bursts on high where trees are old and grass is dry. Each band and strip they soaked in oil, and set on fire the twisted coil. Delighted as they viewed the blaze, the cruel demons stood at gaze, and mid loud drums and shells rang out the triumph of their joyful shout. They pressed about him thick and fast as through the crowded streets he passed, observing with attentive care each rich and wondrous structure there, still heedless of the eager cry that rent the air, the spy. The spy. Some to the captive lady ran, and thus in joyous words began, that copper-visaged monkey, he who in the garden talked with thee, through Lanka's town is led a show, and round his tail the red flames glow. The mournful news the lady heard that with fresh grief her bosom stirred. Swift to the kindled fire she went and prayed before it reverent. If I my husband have obeyed, and kept the ascetic vows I made free, ever free, from stain and blot, O spare the vanner, harm him not. Then leapt on high the flickering flame, and shone in answer to the dame. The pitying fire its rage forbore, the vanner felt the heat no more. Then to minutest size reduced, the bonds that bound his limbs he loosed, and, freed from every band and chain, rose to his native size again. He seized a club of ponderous weight that lay before him by the gate, rushed at the fiends that hemmed him round, and laid them lifeless on the ground. Through Lanka's town again he strode, and viewed each street and square and road, still wreathed about with harmless blaze, a sun engarlanded with rays. Canto 54. The burning of Lanka. What further deed remains to do to vex the Rakshas king anew? The beauty of his grove is marred, killed are the bravest of his guard. The captains of his host are slain, but forts and palaces remain, swift is the work, and light the toil each fortress of the foe to spoil. Reflecting thus, his tail ablaze as through the cloud red lightning plays, he scaled the palaces and spread the conflagration where he sped. From house to house he hurried on, and the wild flames behind him shone. Each mansion of the foe he scaled, and furious fire its roof assailed, till all the common ruin shared Vibhish, a letter 147's house alone was spared. From blazing pile to pile he sprang, and loud his shout of triumph rang, as roars the doomsday cloud when all the worlds in dissolution fall. The friendly wind conspired to fan the hungry flames that leapt and ran, and spreading in their fury, caught the gilded walls with pearls enwrought, till each proud palace reeled and fell as falls a heavenly citadel. Loud was the roar the demons raised mid-walls that split and beams that blazed, as each with vain endeavor strove to stay the flames in house or grove. The women with disheveled hair flocked to the roofs in wild despair, shrieked out for succor, wept aloud, and fell like lightning from a cloud. He saw the flames ascend and curl round turquoise, diamond, and pearl, while silver floods and molten gold from ruined wall and lattice rolled. As fire grows fiercer, as he feeds on wood and grass and crackling reeds, so Hanuman the ruin-eyed with fury still unsatisfied. Canto 55. Fear for Sítá. But other thoughts resumed their sway when Lanka's town in ruin lay, and, as his bosom felt their weight, he stood awhile to meditate. What have I done? He thought with shame, destroyed the town with hostile flame. Oh, happy they whose firm control checks the wild passion of the soul, who, on the fires of anger, throw the cooling drops that check their glow. But woe is me, whom wrath could lead to do this senseless, shameless deed. The town to fire and death I gave, nor thought of her I came to save, doomed by my own rash folly, doomed to perish in the flames consumed. If I, when anger drove me wild, have caused the death of Janak's child, the kindled flame shall end my woe, or the deep fires that burn below, 886, or my forsaken corse shall be food for the monsters of the sea. How can I meet Sugriva? How before the royal brothers bow, I whose rash deed has madly foiled the noble work in which we toiled? Or has her own bright virtue shed its guardian influence round her head? She lives untouched, the peerless dame Flame has no fury for the flame. 887, the very fire would ne'er consent to harm a queen so excellent, the high-souled Rama's faithful wife, protected by her holy life. She lives, she lives. Why should I fear for one whom Raghu's sons hold dear? Has not the pitying fire that spared the Vanner for the lady cared? Such were his thoughts. He pondered long, and fear grew faint and hope grew strong. Then round him heavenly voices rang, and, sweetly tuned, his praises sang. O glorious is the exploit done by Hanuman the wind god's son. The flames o'er Lanka's city rise, the giant's home in ruin lies. O'er roof and wall the fires have spread, nor harmed a hair of Sita's head. Canto 56. Mount Arishta. He looked upon the burning waste, then sought the queen in joyous haste, with words of hope consoled her heart, and made him ready to depart. He scaled a rish letter 160, a s glorious steep, whose summits beetled o'er the deep. The woods in varied beauty dressed hung like a garland round his crest, and clouds of ever-changing hue a robe about his shoulders threw. On him the rays of morning fell to wake the hill they loved so well, and bid unclose those splendid eyes that glittered in his mineral dyes. He woke to hear the music made by thunders of the white cascade, while every laughing rill that sprang from crag to crag its carol sang. For arms, he lifted to the stars his towering stems of deodars, and morning heard his pealing call in tumbling brook and waterfall. He trembled when his woods were pale and bowed beneath the autumn gale, and when his vocal reeds were stirred, his melancholy moan was heard. Far down against the mountain's feet, the Vanner heard the wild waves beat, then turned his glances to the north. Sprang from the peak and bounded forth, the mountain felt the fearful shock and trembled through his mass of rock. The tallest trees were crushed and rent and headlong to the valley sent, and as the rocking shook each cave loud was the roar the lions gave. Forth from the shaken cavern came fierce serpents with their tongues aflame, and every yaksha, wild with dread, and Kinnar and Gandharva fled. Canto 57. Hanuman's return. Still like a winged mountain, he sprang forward through the airy sea, 888, and rushing through the ether drew the clouds to follow as he flew, through the great host around him spread, gray, golden, dark, and white, and red. Now in a sable cloud immersed, now from its gloomy pall he burst, like the bright lord of stars concealed a moment, and again revealed. Sunabha 889, past, he neared the coast where waited still the Vanner host. They heard a rushing in the skies, and lifted up their wondering eyes. His wild triumphant shout they knew that louder still and louder grew, and Jambavan with eager voice called on the Vanners to rejoice. Look, he returns, the wind god's son, and full success his toils have won triumphant is the shout that comes like music of 1,000 drums. Up sprang the Vanners from the ground, and listened to the wondrous sound of hurtling arm and thigh as through the region of the air he flew, loud as the wind, when tempests rave, roars in the prison of the cave. From crag to crag, from height to height, they bounded in their mad delight, and when he touched the mountain's crest, with reverent welcome round him pressed. They brought him of their woodland fruits, they brought him of the choicest roots, and laughed and shouted in their glee the noblest of their chiefs to see. Nor Hanuman delayed to greet sage Jambavan with reverence meet. To Angad and the chiefs he bent for age and rank preeminent, and briefly spoke. These eyes have seen, these lips addressed, the Maithil queen. They sat beneath the waving trees, and Angad spoke in words like these. O noblest of the Vanner kind for valor, power, and might combined, to the triumphant o'er the foe our hopes, our lives, and all we owe. O faithful heart in perils tried, which toil nor fear could turn aside, thy deed the lady will restore, and Rama's heart will ache no more. 890. Canto 58. The Feast of Honey. They rose in air. The region grew dark with their shadow as they flew. Swift to a lovely grove, 891, they came that rivaled heavenly Nandans. 892, fame, where countless bees their honey stored. The pleasance of the Vanners, lord to every creature fenced and barred, which Dadhamuk was set to guard, a noble Vanner, brave and bold, Sugrava's uncle lofty-souled. To Angad came with one accord the Vanners, and besought their lord that they those honeyed stores might eat, that made the grove so passing sweet. He gave consent, they sought the trees thronged with innumerable bees. They rifled all the treasured store, and ate the fruit the branches bore, and still as they prolonged the feast their merriment and joy increased. Drunk with the sweets, they danced and bowed, they wildly sang, they laughed aloud, some climbed and sprang from tree to tree, some sat and chattered in their glee. Some scaled the trees which creepers crowned, and rained the branches to the ground. There with loud laugh a Vanner sprang close to his friend, who madly sang. In doleful mood another crept to mix his tears with one who wept. Then Dadhamuk with fury viewed the intoxicated multitude. He looked upon the rifled shade, and all the ruin they had made, then called with angry voice, and strove to save the remnant of the grove. But warning cries and words were spurned, and angry taunt and threat returned. Then fierce and wild contention rose, with furious words he mingled blows. They by no shame or fear withheld, by drunken mood and ire impelled, used claws and teeth and hands, and beat the keeper under trampling feet. Canto 65. The Tidings. Onto PR a execute R of V, a letter 1E47 S hill, they sped where blooming trees their branches spread. To Raghu's sons their heads they bent, and did obeisance reverent. Then to their king, by Angad led, each Vanner chieftain bowed his head, and Hanuman the brave and bold his tidings to the monarch told. But first in Rama's hand he placed the gem that Sita's brow had graced. I crossed the sea. I searched a while for Sítá in the giant's isle. I found her vexed with taunt, and threat by demon guards about her set. Her tresses twined in single braid, on the bare earth her limbs were laid. Sad were her eyes, her cheeks were pale as shuddering flowers in winter's gale. I stood beside the weeping dame, and gently whispered Rama's name. With cheering words her grief consoled, and then the whole adventure told. She weeps afar beyond the sea, and her true heart is still with thee. She gave a sign that thou wouldst know, she bids thee think upon the crow, and bright mark pressed upon her brow, when none was nigh but she and thou. She bids thee take this precious stone, the sea-born gem thou long hast known. And I, she said, will dull thee sting of woe by gazing on the ring. 1 little month shall I sustain this life oppressed with woe and pain, and when the month is ended, I the giant's prey must surely die. Canto 66. Rama's speech. There ceased the Vanner. Rama pressed the treasured jewel to his breast, and from his eyes the waters broke as to the Vanner king he spoke. As o'er her babe the mother weeps, this flood of tears the jewel steeps. This gem that shone on Sita's head was Janak's gift when we were wed, and the pure brow that wore it lent new splendor to the ornament. This gem, bright offspring of the wave, the king of heaven to Janak gave, whose noble sacrificial rite had filled the god with new delight. Now, as I gaze upon the prize, methinks I see my father's eyes. Methinks I see before me stand the ruler of Vidha's land. 893, methinks mine arms are folded now round her who wore it on her brow. Speak, Hanuman, O say, dear friend, what message did my darling send? O speak, and let thy words impart their gentle dew to cool my heart. Ah, 'tis the crown of woe to see this gem and ask, where is she? If for 1 month her heart be strong, her days of life will yet be long. But I, with naught to lend relief, this very day must die of grief. Come, Hanuman, and quickly guide the mourner to his darling's side. O lead me, thou hast learnt the way, I cannot and I will not stay. How can my gentle love endure, so timid, delicate, and pure, the dreadful demons fierce and vile who watch her in the guarded isle? No more the light of beauty shines from Sítá, as she weeps and pines. But pain and sorrow, cloud on cloud her moonlight glory dim and shroud. O speak, dear Hanuman, and tell each word that from her sweet lips fell. Her words alone can give the healing balm to make me live. 894. Book 6, 895. Canto 1. Rama's speech. The son of Raghu heard, consoled, the wondrous tale Hanuman told and, as his joyous hope grew high in friendly words he made reply. Behold a mighty task achieved, which never heart but has conceived. Who else across the sea can spring, save Vayu 896, and the feathered king? 897. Who, past the portals strong and high witch Nagas, 898 gods and fiends defy, where Rav a letter 1E47S hosts their station keep, and come uninjured o'er the deep. By such a deed, the wind god's son good service to the king has done, and saved from ruin and disgrace a K, SHM, a letter 1E47 and me, and Raghu's race. Well has he planned and bravely fought, and with due care my lady sought. But of the sea I sadly think, and the sweet hopes that cheered me sink. How can we cross the leagues of foam that keep us from the giant's home? What can the Vanner, legions more than muster on the ocean shore? Canto 2. Sugriva's speech. He ceased, and King Sugriva tried to calm his grief, and thus replied, Be to thy nobler nature true, nor let despair thy soul subdue. This cloud of causeless woe dispel, for all as yet has prospered well, and we have traced thy queen, and know the dwelling of our Raksha's foe. Arise, consult. Thy task must be to cast a bridge athwart the sea, the city of our foe to reach that crowns the mountain by the beach, and when our feet that isle shall tread, rejoice and deem thy foeman dead. The sea unbridged, his walls defy both fiends and children of the sky, though at the fierce battalions, head Lord Indra's self the onset led. Yea, victory is thine before the long bridge touch the farther shore. So fleet and fierce and strong are these who limn them as their fancies please. Away with grief and sad surmise that mar the noblest enterprise, and with their weak suspicion blight the sage's plan, the hero's might. Come, this degenerate weakness spurn, and bid thy dauntless heart return, for each fair hope by grief is crossed when those we love are dead or lost. Arise, O best of those who know, arm for the giant's overthrow. None in the triple world I see who in the fight may equal thee, none who before thy face may stand and brave the bow that arms thy hand. Trust to these mighty Vanners. They with full success thy trust will pay, when thou shalt reach the robber's hold, and loving arms round Sítá fold. Canto 3. Lanka. He ceased, and Raghu's son gave heed, attentive to his prudent reed, then turned again, with hope inspired, to Hanuman, and thus inquired. Light were the task for thee, I ween, to bridge the sea that gleams between the mainland and the island's shore, or dry the deep and guide as o'er. Fain would I learn from thee whose feet have trod the stones of every street, of fenced Lanka's towers and forts, and walls and moats and guarded ports, and castles where the giants dwell, and battlemented citadel. O Vayu's son, describe it all with palace, fort, and gate, and wall. He ceased, and skilled in arts that guide the eloquent, the chief replied. Vast is the city, gay and strong, where elephants unnumbered throng, and countless hosts of Rakshas breed stand ready by the car and steed. 4 massive gates, securely barred all entrance to the city guard, with murderous engines fixed to throw bolt, arrow, rock to check the foe, and many a mace with iron head that strikes at once 100 dead. Her golden ramparts wide and high with massy strength the foe defy, where inner walls their rich inlay of coral, turquoise, pearl display. Her circling moats are broad and deep, where ravening monsters dart and leap. By 4 great piers, each moat is spanned where lines of deadly engines stand. In sleepless watch at every gate unnumbered hosts of giants wait, and, masters of each weapon, rear the threatening pike and sword and spear. My fury hurled those ramparts down, filled up the moats that gird the town, the piers and portals overturned, and stately Lancas spoiled and burned. Howe'er we vanners force our way o'er the wide seat of V a RU letter 1E47S, 899. Sway, be sure that city of the foe is doomed to sudden overthrow, nay, why so vast an army lead? Brave Angad, Dwivid good at need, fierce Mainda, Panas famed in fight, and Neela's skill and Nala's might, and Jambavan the strong and wise will dare the easy enterprise. Assailed by these shall Lanka fall with gate and rampart, tower and wall. Command the gathering, chief, and they in happy hour will haste away. Canto 4. The march. He ceased, and spurred by warlike pride the impetuous son of Raghu cried, soon shall mine arm with wrathful joy that city of the foe destroy. Now chieftain, now collect the host, and onward to the southern coast. The sun in his meridian tower gives glory to the Vanner power. The demon lord who stole my queen by timely flight his life may screen. She, when she knows her lord is near, will cling to hope and banish fear, saved like a dying wretch who sips the drink of gods with fevered lips. Arise, thy troops to battle lead, all happy omens counsel speed. The Lord of stars in favoring skies bodes glory to our enterprise. This arm shall slay the fiend, and she my consort shall again be free. Mine upward throbbing eye foreshows the longed-for triumph o'er my foes. Far in the van be Neela's post, to scan the pathway for the host, and let thy bravest and thy best, 100,000, wait his hest. Go forth, O warrior Neela, lead the legions on through wood and mead, where pleasant waters cool the ground, and honey, flowers, and fruit abound. Go, and with timely care, prevent the Rakshas foeman's dark intent. With watchful troops each valley guard air brooks and fruits, and roots be marred, and search each glen, and leafy shade for hostile troops in ambuscade. But let the weaklings stay behind, for heroes is our task designed. Let thousands of the Vanner breed the vanguard of the army's lied. Fierce and terrific must it be as billows of the stormy sea. There be the hill-huge Gaja's place, and Gavia S, strongest of his race. And like the bull that leads the herd, Gavaksha S, by no fears deterred let Rishab, matchless in the might of warlike arms, protect our right, and Gandhamadan next in rank defend and guide the other flank. I, like the god who rules the sky born on Aravat, 900, mounted high on stout Hanuman's back will ride, the central host to cheer and guide. Fierce is the god who rules below, on Angad's back let LKSHM a letter 1E47 show like him who wealth to mortals shares, 901, the lord whom Sarvabhauma, 902 bears. The bold SUSH E letter 1E47's impetuous might, and Vegadarsi's piercing sight, and Jambavan whom bears revere, illustrious 3, shall guard the rear. He ceased, the royal Vanner heard, and swift, obedient to his word, sprang forth in numbers none might tell from mountain, cave, and bosky dell, from rocky ledge and breezy height, fierce Vanners burning for the fight. And Rama's course was southward bent amid the mighty armament. On joyous, pressed in close array the hosts who owned Sugrava's sway, with nimble feet, with rapid bound exploring, ere they passed, the ground, while from 10 myriad throats rang out the challenge and the battle shout. On roots and honeycomb they fed, and clusters from the boughs o'erhead, or from the ground the tall trees tore rich with the flowery load they bore. Some carried comrades, wild with mirth, then cast their riders to the earth, who swiftly to their feet arose and overthrew their laughing foes. While still rang out the general cry, King Rav a letter 1E47 and his fiends shall die. Still on, exulting in the pride of conscious strength, the Vanners hide, and gazed where noble Sahya, best of mountains, raised each towering crest. They looked on lake and streamlet, where the lotus bloom was bright and fair, nor marched, for Rama's hest they feared where town or haunt of men appeared. Still onward, fearful as the waves of ocean when he roars and raves, led by their eager chieftains, went the vanners, countless armament. Each captain, like a noble steed urged by the lash to double speed, pressed onward, filled with zeal and pride, by Rama's and his brothers' side, who high above the vanner throng on mighty backs were borne along, like the great lords of day and night seized by eclipsing planets' might. Then Lakshman, a letter 147 radiant, as the morn on Anged's shoulders high up borne. With sweet consoling words that woke new ardor, to his brother spoke. Soon shalt thou turn, thy queen regained and impious Rav, a letter 147's lifeblood drained, in happiness and high renown to dear Ayodhya's happy town. I see around exceeding fair all omens of the earth and air. Auspicious breezes sweet and low to greet the vanner army blow, and softly to my listening ear come the glad cries of bird and deer. Bright is the sky around us, bright without a cloud the Lord of light, and Sakra, 903, with propitious love looks on thee from his throne above. The pole star and the sainted 7, 904 shine brightly in the northern heaven, and great Trisanku, 905, glorious king, Ikshvaku's son from whom we spring, beams in unclouded glory near his holy priest, 906, whom all revere. Undimmed the two Visakhas, 907 shine, the strength and glory of our line and narrats, 908, influence that aids our rakshas foeman faints and fades. The running brooks are fresh and fair, the boughs their ripening clusters bear, and scented breezes gently sway the leaflet of the tender spray. See, with a glory half divine the vanners, ordered legions shine, bright as the gods, exultant train who saw the demon Tarak slain. O let thine eyes these signs behold, and bid thy heart be glad and bold. The vanner squadrons densely spread o'er all the country onward sped, while, rising from the rapid beat of bears and monkeys, hastening feet, dust hid the earth with thickest veil, and made the struggling sunbeams pale. Now where Mahendra's peaks arise came Rama of the lotus eyes, and the long arms resistless might, and clomb the mountain's wood-crowned height. Thence Dasaratha's son beheld where billowy ocean rose and swelled, past Malaya's peaks and Sahia's, chain the vanner legions reached the main, and stood in many a marshaled band on loud-resounding ocean's strand. To the fair wood that fringed the tide came Dasaratha's son, and cried, At length, my lord Sugriva, we have reached King Varu letter 147's realm the sea, and one great thought, still vexing, how to cross the flood, awaits us now. The broad deep ocean, that denies a passage, stretched before us lies. Then let us halt, and plan the while how best to storm the giant's isle. He ceased. Sugriva on the coast by trees o'ershadowed stayed the host, that seemed in glittering lines to be the bright waves of a second sea. Then from the shore the captains gazed on billows which the breezes raised to fury, as they dashed in foam o'er Varu letter 147's realm, the Asur's home. 909, the sea that laughed with foam, and danced with waves whereon the sunbeams glanced, where, when the light began to fade, huge crocodiles and monsters played, and when the moon went up the sky, the troubled billows rose on high from the wild watery world whereon 1,000 moons reflected shone. Where awful serpents swam and showed their fiery crests which flashed and glowed, illumining the depths of hell, the prison where the demons dwell. The eye, bewildered, sought in vain the bounding line of sky and main, alike in shade, alike in glow were sky above and sea below. There wave-like clouds by clouds were chased, here cloud-like billows roared and raced, then shone the stars, and many a gem that lit the waters answered them. They saw the great-souled ocean stirred to frenzy by the winds, and heard, loud as 10,000 drums, the roar of wild waves dashing on the shore. They saw him mounting to defy, with deafening voice, the troubled sky. And the deep bed beneath him swell in fury, as the billows fell. Canto 5. Rama's Lament. There on the coast in long array the vanners, marshaled legions lay, where Neela's care had ordered well the watch of guard and sentinel, and Mainda moved from post to post with Dwivid to protect the host. Then Rama stood by Lakshman, a letter 1E47's side, and mastered by his sorrow cried, "My brother dear, the heart's distress, as days wear on, grows less and less. But my deep-seated grief, alas, grows fiercer as the seasons pass. Though for my queen my spirit longs, and broods indignant o'er my wrongs, still wilder is my grief to know that her young life is passed in woe. Breathe, gentle gale, oh breathe where she lies prisoned, and then breathe on me, and though my love I may not meet, thy kiss shall be divinely sweet." Ah, by the giant's shape appalled, on her dear lord for help she called, still in mine ears the sad cry rings, and tears my heart with poison stings. Through the long daylight, and the gloom of night wild thoughts of her consume my spirit, and my love supplies the torturing flame which never dies. Leave me, my brother, I will sleep couched on the bosom of the deep, for the cold wave may bring me peace and bid the fire of passion cease. One only thought my stay must be, that earth, one earth, holds her and me, to know my darling lives some life-supporting comfort gives, as streams from distant fountains run o'er meadows parching in the sun. Ah, when, my foeman at my feet, shall I my queen, my glory, meet, the blossom of her dear face raise, and on her eyes enraptured gaze, press her soft lips to mine again, and drink a balm to banish pain. Alas, alas! Where lies she now, my darling of the lovely brow? On the cold earth, no help at hand, forlorn amid the Rakshas band, King Janak's child still calls on me, her lord and love, to set her free. But soon in glory will she rise a crescent moon in autumn skies, and those dark rovers of the night, like scattered clouds, shall turn in flight. Canto 6. Rávan's speech. But when the giant king surveyed his glorious town in ruin laid, and each dire sign of victory won by Hanuman the wind god's son, he veiled his angry eyes oppressed by shame, and thus his lords addressed. The Vanner spy has passed the gate of Lanka long inviolate, eluded watch and ward, and seen with his bold eyes the captive queen. My royal roof with flames is red, the bravest of my lords are dead, and the fierce Vanner in his hate has left our city desolate. Now ponder well the work that lies before us, ponder and advise. With deep observing judgment scan the peril, and mature a plan. From counsel, sages say, the root springs victory, most glorious fruit. First ranks the king, when woe impends who seeks the counsel of his friends, of kinsmen ever faithful found, or those whose hopes with his are bound, then with their aid his strength applies, and triumphs in his enterprise. Next ranks the prince who plans alone, no counsel seeks to aid his own, weighs loss and gain and wrong and right, and seeks success with earnest might. Unwisest he who spurns delays, who counts no cost, no peril weighs, speeds to his aim, defying fate, and risks his all, precipitate. Thus too in counsel sages find a best, a worst, a middle kind. When gathered counselors explore the way by light of holy lore, and all from first to last agree, is the best counsel of the three. Next, if debate first waxes high, and each his chosen plan would try till all agree at last, we deem this counsel second in esteem. Worst of the three is this, when each assails with taunt his fellow's speech, when all debate, and no consent concludes the angry argument. Consult then, lords, my task shall be to crown with act your wise decree. With thousands of his wild allies the vengeful Rama hither hies, with unresisted might and speed across the flood his troops will lead, or for the Vanner host will drain the channels of the conquered main. Canto 7. Rávan encouraged. He ceased, they scorned with blinded eyes, the foeman and his bold allies raised reverent hands with one accord, and thus made answer to their lord. Why yield thee, king, to causeless fear? A mighty host with sword and spear, and mace and axe and pike and lance waits, but thy signal to advance. Art thou not he who slew of old the serpent gods, and stormed their hold, scaled Mount Kailasa and o'erthrew Kuvera, 910, and his Yaksha crew, compelling Siva's haughty friend beneath a mightier arm to bend? Didst thou not bring from realms afar the marvel of the magic car, when they who served Kuvera fell crushed in their mountain citadel? Attracted by thy matchless fame to thee, a suppliant, Maya came, the lord of every Danav band, and won thee with his daughter's hand. Thy arm in hell itself was felt, where Vasuki, 911 and Sanka dwelt, and they in Takshak, overthrown, were forced thy conquering might to own. The gods in vain their blessing gave to heroes bravest of the brave, who strove a year, and, sorely pressed, their victors peerless might confessed. In vain their magic arts they tried. In vain thy matchless arm defied King Varu letter 1E47's sons with fourfold force, cars, elephants, and foot, and horse. But for a while thy power withstood, and, conquered, mourned their hardihood. Thou hast encountered, face to face, King Yama 912 with his murdering mace. Fierce as the wild tempestuous sea, what terror had his wrath for thee, though death in every threatening form, and woe and torment, urged the storm. Thine arm a glorious victory won o'er the dread king who pities none and the three worlds, from terror freed, in joyful wonder praised thy deed. The tribe of warriors, strong and dread as Indra's self, o'er earth had spread, as giant trees that towering stand in mountain glens, they filled the land. Can Raghu's son encounter foes fierce, numerous and strong as those? Yet trained in war and practiced well, o'ermatched by thee they fought and fell, stay in thy royal home, nor care the battle and the toil to share. But let the easy fight be won by Indrajít, 913, thy matchless son. All shall die, if thou permit, slain by the hand of Indrajít. Canto 8. Prahasta's speech. Dark as a cloud of autumn, dread Prahasta joined his palms and said, Gandharvas, gods, the hosts who dwell in heaven, in air, in earth, in hell, have yielded to thy might, and how shall two weak men oppose thee now? Hanuman came, a foe disguised, and mocked us heedless and surprised, or never had he lived to flee and boast that he has fought with me. Command, O king, and this right hand shall sweep the banners from the land, and hill and dale, to ocean's shore, shall know the death-doomed race no more. But let my care the means devise to guard thy city from surprise. Then Durmuk cried, of Raksha's race, too long we brook the dire disgrace. He gave our city to the flames, he trod the chambers of thy dames. Ne'er shall so weak and vile a thing unpunished brave the giant's king. Now shall this single arm attack and drive the daring Vanners back, till to the winds of heaven they flee, or seek the depths of earth and sea. Then, brandishing the mace he bore, whose horrid spikes were stained with gore, while fury made his eyeballs red, impetuous V a J R a D a N S H letter 1E60 R a said. Why waste a thought on one so vile as Hanuman the Vanner, while Sugriva, L-A-K S-H-M a letter 1E47, yet remain, and Rama mightier still, unslain. This mace today shall crush the three, and all the host will turn and flee. Listen, and I will speak. Incline, O king, to hear these words of mine, for the deep plan that I propose will swiftly rid thee of thy foes. Let thousands of thy host assume the forms of men in youthful bloom, in war's magnificent array draw near to Raghu's son, and say, Thy younger brother Bharat sends this army, and thy cause befriends. Then let our legions hasten near with bow and mace and sword and spear, and on the Vanner army rain our steel and stone till all be slain. If Raghu's sons will fain believe, entangled in the net we weave, the penalty they both must pay and lose their forfeit lives today. Then, with his warrior soul on fire, Encompasses spoke in burning ire. I will take the field, and Raghu's son his life shall yield. Within these walls, O chiefs, abide, nor part ye from our monarch's side. Canto 9. Vibhishan's Counsel. A score of warriors, 914 forward sprang, and loud the clashing iron rang of mace and axe and spear and sword, as thus they spake unto their lord. Their king Sugriva will we slay, and Raghu's sons, ere close of day, and strike the wretch Hanuman down, the spoiler of our golden town. But sage Vibhishan, a letter 1E47 strove to calm the chieftain's fury. Palm to palm he joined in lowly reverence, pressed 915 before them, and the throng addressed. Dismiss the hope of conquering one so stern and strong as Raghu's son. In due control each sense, he keeps with constant care that never sleeps. Whose daring heart has e'er conceived the exploit Hanuman achieved, across the fearful sea to spring, the tributary rivers, king. O Raksha's lords, in time be wise, nor Rama's matchless power despise. And say, what evil had the son of Raghu to our monarch done? Who stole the dame he loved so well and keeps her in his citadel, If Kara, in his foolish pride, encountered Rama, fought, and died, may not the meanest love his life and guard it in the deadly strife? The Maithil dame, O Raksha's king, sore peril to thy realm will bring. Restore her while there yet is time, nor let us perish for thy crime. Oh, let the Maithil lady go ere the avenger bend his bow to ruin, with his arrowy showers our Lanka with her gates and towers. Let Janak's child again be free ere the wild vanners cross the sea, in their resistless might assail our city and her ramparts scale. Ah, I conjure thee by the ties of brotherhood, be just and wise. In all my thoughts thy good I seek, and thus my prudent counsel speak. Let captive Sítá be restored ere, fierce as autumn's sun, her lord send his keen arrows from the string to drink the lifeblood of our king. This fury from thy soul dismiss, the bane of duty, peace, and bliss. Seek duty's path and walk therein, and joy and endless glory win. Restore the captive, ere we feel the piercing point of Rama's steel. O spare thy city, spare the lives of us, our friends, our sons and wives. Thus spake Vibhishan, a letter 1E47 wise and brave. The Raksha's king no answer gave, but bade his lords the counsel close, and sought his chamber for repose. Canto 10. Vibhishan's Counsel. Soon as the light of morning broke, Vibhish, a letter 1E47 from his slumber woke, and, duty guiding every thought, the palace of his brother sought. Vast as a towering hill that shows his peaks afar, that palace rose. Here stood within the monarch's gate sage nobles skillful in debate. There strayed in glittering raiment through the courts his royal retinue, where in wild measure rose and fell the music of the drum and shell, and talk grew loud, and many a dame of fairest feature went and came through doors a marvel to behold, with pearl inlaid on burning gold, therein Gandharvas or the fleet lords of the storm might joy to meet. He passed within the wondrous pile, chief glory of the giant's isle. Thus, ere his fiery course be done, an autumn cloud admits the sun. He heard auspicious voices raise with loud accord the note of praise, and sages, deep in scripture, sing each glorious triumph of the king. He saw the priests in order stand, curd, oil in every sacred hand, and by them flowers were laid and grain, due offerings to the holy train. Vibhish, a letter 1E47 to the monarch bode, raised on a throne above the crowd. Then, skilled in arts of soft address, he raised his voice the king to bless, and sate him on a seat where he full in his brother's sight should be. The chieftain there, while none could hear, spoke his true speech for Rav, a letter 1E47's ear, and to his words of wisdom lent the force of weightiest argument. O brother, hear! Since Rama's queen, a captive in thy house, has been disastrous omens, day by day, have struck our souls with wild dismay. No longer still and strong and clear the flames of sacrifice appear, but, restless with the frequent spark, 'neath clouds of smoke grow faint and dark. Our ministering priests turn pale to see their wonted offerings fail, and ants and serpents creep and crawl within the consecrated hall. 916. Dried are the udders of our cows, our elephants have juiceless brows. 917. Nor can the sweetest pasture stay the charger's long unquiet neigh. Big tears from mules and camels flow, whose staring coats their trouble show, nor can the leech's art restore their health and vigor as before. Rapacious birds are fierce and bold, not single hunters as of old. In banded troops they chase the prey, or gathering on our temples stay. Through twilight hours with shriek and howl, around the city jackals prowl, and wolves and foul hyenas wait athirst for blood at every gate. One sole atonement still may cure these evils, and our weal assure. Restore the Maithil dame, and win an easy pardon for thy sin. The Raksha's monarch heard, and moved to sudden wrath his speech reproved. No danger, brother, can I see, the Maithil dame I will not free. Though all the gods for Rama fight, he yields to my superior might. Thus the tremendous king who broke the ranks of heavenly warriors spoke, and, sternly purposed to resist, his brother from the hall dismissed. Canto 11. The Summons. Still Rav, a letter 1E47's haughty heart rebelled, the counsel of the wise repelled, and, as his breast with passion burned, his thoughts again to Sítá turned. Thus, to each sign of danger blind, to love and war he still inclined. Then mounted he his car that glowed with gems and golden net, and rode where, gathered at the monarch's call, the nobles filled the council hall. A host of warriors bright and gay with colored robes and rich array, with shield and mace and spear and sword, followed the chariot of their lord. Mid the loud voice of shells and beat of drums he raced along the street, and, ere he came, was heard afar the rolling thunder of his car. He reached the doors. The nobles bent their heads before him reverent and, welcomed with their loud acclaim, within the glorious hall he came. He sat upon a royal seat with golden steps beneath his feet, and bade the heralds summon all his captains to the council hall. The heralds heard the words he spake, and sped from house to wake the giants where they slept or spent the careless hours in merriment. These heard the summons and obeyed. From chamber, grove, and colonnade, on elephants or cars they rode, or through the streets impatient strode. As birds on rustling pinions fly through regions of the darkened sky, thus cars and mettled coursers through the crowded streets of Lanka flew. The council hall was reached, and then, as lions seek their mountain den, through massy doors that opened wide, with martial stalked the captains hide. Welcomed with honor, as was meet, they stooped to press their monarch's feet, and each a place in order found on stool, on cushion, or the ground. Nor did the sage Vibhish a letter 1E47 long delay to join the noble throng. High on a car that shone like flame with gold and flashing gems he came, drew near and spoke his name aloud, and reverent to his brother bowed. Canto 12. Rávan's speech. The king in council unsurpassed his eye around the synod cast, and fierce Prahasta, first and best of all his captains, thus addressed. Brave master of each warlike art, arouse thee, and perform thy part. Array thy fourfold forces, 918, well to guard our isle and citadel. The captain of the hosts obeyed, the troops with prudent skill arrayed, then to the hall again he hied, and stood before the king and cried. Each inlet to the town is closed without, within are troops disposed. With fearless heart then aim pursue, and do the deed thou hast in view. Thus spoke Prahasta, in the zeal that moved him for the kingdom's weal. And thus the monarch, who pursued his own delight, his speech renewed. In ease and bliss, in toil and pain, in doubts of duty, pleasure, gain, your proper path I need not tell, for of yourselves ye know it well. The storm gods, moon, and planets bring new glory to their heavenly king. 919, and, ranged about your monarch, ye give joy and endless fame to me. My secret counsel have I kept, while senseless kumbh a r letter 1E47 a slept. 6 months the warrior's slumbers last and bind his torpid senses fast, but now his deep repose he breaks, the best of all our champions wakes. I captured Rama's heart to wring, this daughter of Vibhishan king, and brought her from that distant land, 920, where wandered many a Raksha's band. Disdainful still my love she spurns, still from each prayer and offering turns, yet in all lands beneath the sun no dame may rival Sítá, none. Her dainty waist is round and slight, her cheek like autumn's moon is bright, and she like fruit in graven gold mocks her, 921, whom Maya framed of old. Faultless in form, how firmly tread her feet whose soles are rosy red. Ah, as I gaze her beauty takes my spirit, and my passion wakes. Looking for Rama far away, she sought with tears a year's delay, nor gazing on her lovelit eye could I that earnest prayer deny. But baffled hopes and vain desire at length my patient spirit tire. How shall the sons of Raghu sweep to vengeance o'er the pathless deep? How shall they lead the vanner train across the monster-teeming main? One vanner yet could find a way to Lanka's town, and burn and slay. Take counsel then, remembering still that we from men need fear no ill, and give your sentence in debate, for matchless is the power of fate. Assailed by you the gods who dwell in heaven, beneath our fury fell. And shall we fear these creatures bred in forests, by Sugrava led? E'en now on ocean's farther strand, the sons of Dasaratha stand, and follow, burning to attack their giant foes, on Sítá's track. Consult then, lords, for ye are wise, a seasonable plan devise. The captive lady to retain, and triumph when the foes are slain. No power can bring across the foam those vanners to our island home, or if they madly will defy our conquering might, they needs must die. Then kumbh a k a r letter 147 a s anger woke, and wrath at rav a letter 147 s words he spoke. O monarch, when thy ravished eyes first looked upon thy lovely prize, then was the time to bid us scan each peril and mature a plan. Blessed is the king who acts with heed, and ne'er repents one hasty deed, and hapless he whose troubled soul mourns over days beyond control. Thou hast, in beauty's toils ensnared, a desperate deed of boldness dared, by fortune saved ere Rama's steel one wound thy mortal bane could deal. But rav a letter 147, as the deed is done, the toil of war I will not shun. This arm, O rover of the night, thy foeman to the earth shall smite, though Indra with the lord of flame, the sun and storms against me came. E'en Indra, monarch of the skies, would dread my club and mountain size, shrink from these teeth, and quake to hear the thunders of my voice of fear. No second dart shall Rama cast, the first he aims shall be the last. He falls, and these dry lips shall drain the blood of him my hand has slain, and Sítá, when her champion dies, shall be thine undisputed prize. Canto 13. Rávan's speech. But Mahaparsva saw the sting of keen reproach had galled the king, and humbly, eager to appease his anger, spoke in words like these. And breathes there one so cold and weak the forest, and the gloom to seek where savage beasts abound, and spare to taste the luscious honey there. Art thou not Lord? And who is he shall venture to give laws to thee? Love thy Vibhishan still, and tread upon thy prostrate foeman's head. O'er Sítás will let thine prevail, and strength achieve if flattery fail. What though the lady yet be coy, and turn her from the proffered joy? Soon shall her conquered heart relent, and yield to love and blandishment. With us let kumbh a k a r letter 147 a fight, and in Indrajít of matchless might, we need not other champions, they shall lead us forth to rout and slay. Not ours to bribe or soothe or part the foeman's force with gentle art, doomed, conquered by our might, to feel the vengeance of the warrior's steel. The Raksha's monarch heard, and moved by flattering hopes the speech approved. Hear me, he cried, great chieftain, tell what in the olden time befell, a secret tale which, long suppressed, lies prisoned only in my breast. One day, a day I never forget, fair Punjakas the law, 922, I met, when, radiant as a flame of fire, she sought the palace of the sire. In passion's eager grasp I tore from her sweet limbs the robes she wore, and heedless of her prayers and cries, strained to my breast the vanquished prize. Like Nalini, 923, with soil disdained, the mansion of the sire she gained, and weeping made the outrage known to Brahma on his heavenly throne. He in his wrath pronounced a curse, that Lord who made the universe. If, rav a letter 147, thou a second time be guilty of so foul a crime, thy head in shivers shall be rent, be warned, and dread the punishment. Awed by the threat of vengeance, still I force not Sitah's stubborn will. Terrific as the sea in might, my steps are like the storm god's flight, but Rama knows not this, or he had never sought to war with me. Where is the man would idly brave the lion in his mountain cave, and wake him when with slumbering eyes grim, terrible as death, he lies? No, blinded Rama knows me not, ne'er has he seen mine arrows shot, ne'er marked them speeding to their aim like snakes with cloven tongues of flame. On him those arrows will I turn, whose fiery points shall rend and burn. Quenched by my power when I assail, the glory of his might shall fail, as stars before the sun grow dim and yield their feeble light to him. Canto 14. Vibhishan's speech. He ceased, Vibhish, a letter 147 ill at ease addressed the king in words like these. O Rav, a letter 147, O my lord, beware of Sítá dangerous as fair, nor on thy heedless bosom hang this serpent with a deadly fang. O king, the Maithil dame restore to Raghu's matchless son before those warriors of the woodlands, vast as mountain peaks, approaching fast, armed with fierce teeth and claws, enclose thy city with unsparing foes. O, be the Maithil dame restored ere loosened from the clanging cord the vengeful shafts of Rama fly, and low in death thy princes lie. In all thy legions hast thou won a match in war for Raghu's son. Can kumbh a k a r letter 147 a s self withstand, or Indrajít that mighty hand? In vain with Rama wilt thou strive. Thou wilt not save thy soul alive though guarded by the Lord of day and storm gods. Terrible array, in vain to Indra wilt thou fly, or seek protection in the sky in Yama's gloomy mansion dwell, or hide thee in the depths of hell. He ceased, and when his lips were closed, Prahasta thus his reed opposed. O timid heart, to counsel thus. What terrors have the gods for us? Can snake, Gandharva, fiend appall the giant sons who scorn them all? And shall we now our birth disgrace, and dread a king of human race? Thus fierce Prahasta counselled ill, but sage Vibhishan, a letter 1E47 constant, will the safety of the realm ensued, who thus in turn his speech renewed. Yes, when a soul defiled with sin shall mount to heaven and enter in then, chieftain, will experience teach the truth of thy disdainful speech. Can I or thou, or these, or all our bravest compass Ramas fall, the chief in whom all virtues shine, the pride of old Ikshvaka line, with whom the gods may scarce compare in skill to act, in heart to dare. Yea, idly mayst thou vaunt thee, till sharp arrows winged with matchless skill from Rama's bowstring, fleet and fierce as lightning's flame, thy body pierce. Encompasses shall not save thee then, nor Rav a letter 1E47, from the Lord of men. O monarch, hear my last appeal, my counsel for thy kingdom's weal. This sentence I again declare, O giant king, beware, beware. Save from the ruin that impends thy town, thy people, and thy friends. O hear the warning urged once more, to Raghu's son the dame restore. Canto 15. Indrajit's speech. He ceased, and Indrajit the pride of Raksha's warriors thus replied. Is this a speech our king should hear, this counsel of ignoble fear? A scion of our glorious race should ne'er conceive a thought so base, but one mid all our kin we find, Vibhish, a letter 1E47, whose degenerate mind no spark of gallant pride retains, whose coward soul his lineage stains. Against one giant, what can two unhappy sons of Raghu do? Away with idle fears, away. Matched with our meanest, what are they? Beneath my conquering prowess fell the Lord of earth and heaven and hell. 924, through every startled region dread of my resistless fury spread, and gods in each remotest sphere confessed the universal fear. Rending the air with roar and groan, Aravat, 925, to the earth was thrown. From his huge head the tusks I drew, and smote the gods with fear anew. Shall I who tame celestials' pride, by whom the fiends are terrified, now prove a weakling little worth, and fail to slay those sons of earth? He ceased, Vibhish, a letter 1E47 trained, and tried in war and counsel, thus replied. Thy speech is marked with scorn of truth, with rashness and the pride of youth. Yea, to thy ruin like a child thou pratest, and thy words are wild. Most dear, O Indrajit, to thee should Rav a letter 1E47 weal and safety be, for thou art called his son, but thou art proved his direst foeman now. When warned by me, thou hast not tried to turn the coming woe aside. Both thee and him, 'twere meet to slay, who brought thee to this hall today, and dared so rash a youth admit to counsel where the wisest sit. Presumptuous, wild, devoid of sense, filled full of pride and insolence, thy reckless tongue thou wilt not rule that speaks the counsel of a fool. Who in the fight may brook or shun the arrows shot by Raghu's son, with flame and fiery vengeance sped, dire as his staff who rules the dead. O Rav a letter 1E47, let thy people live, and to the son of Raghu give fair robes and gems and precious ore, and Sítá to his arms restore. Canto 16. Rávan's speech. Then, while his breast with fury swelled, thus Rav a letter 1E47 spoke, as fate impelled. Better with foes thy dwelling make, or house thee with the venomed snake, than live with false familiar friends who further still thy foeman's ends. I know their treacherous mood, I know their secret triumph at thy woe. They in their inward hearts despise the brave, the noble, and the wise, grieve at their bliss with rancorous hate, and for their sorrows watch and wait. Scan every fault with curious eye, and each slight error magnify. Ask elephants who roam the wild how, were their captive friends beguiled. For fire, they cry, we little care for javelin and shaft and snare, our foes are traitors, taught to bind the trusting creatures of their kind. Still, shall blessings flow from cows, 926, and Brahmins love their rigorous vows, still woman change her restless will, and friends perfidious work us ill. What though with conquering feet I tread on every prostrate foeman's head? What though the worlds in abject fear their mighty lord and me revere? This thought my peace of mind destroys, and robs me of expected joys. The lotus of the lake receives the glittering rain that gems its leaves, but each bright drop remains apart, so is it still with heart and heart. Deceitful as an autumn cloud which, though its thunderous voice be loud, on the dry earth no torrent sends, such is the race of faithless friends. No riches of the bloomy spray will tempt the wandering bee to stay that loves from flower to range, and friends like thee are swift to change. Thou blot upon thy glorious line, if any giant's tongue but thine had dared to give this base advice, he should not live to shame me twice. Then just Vibhish, a letter 1E47 in the heat of anger started from his seat, and with 4 captains of the band sprang forward with his mace in hand. Then, fury flashing from his eye, looked on the king and made reply. Thy rights, O Rav, a letter 1E47, I allow, my brother and mine elder thou. Such, though from duty's path they stray, we love like fathers and obey, but still too bitter to be borne is thy harsh speech of cruel scorn. The rash like thee, who spurn control, nor check one longing of the soul, urged by malignant fate repel the faithful friend who counsels well. 1,000 courtiers wilt thou meet, with flattering lips of smooth deceit, but rare are they whose tongue or ear will speak the bitter truth, or hear. Unclose thy blinded eyes, and see that snares of death encompass thee. I dread, my brother, to behold the shafts of Rama, bright with gold, flash fury through the air, and red with fires of vengeance strike thee dead. Lord, brother, king, again reflect, nor this mine earnest prayer reject. O, save thyself, thy royal town, thy people, and thine old renown.